Welcome back to Milkman Channel. It wouldn't be a Milkman video game video without a disclaimer in the beginning, am I right? I'm going to be talking about Firewatch today, and we'll be going into very spoiler heavy territory. So if you haven't played Firewatch and you do not want it spoiled for you, add this video to watch later and come back to it when you are ready. Now let's get into it. Firefighters are a very well-known figure in modern society, and how could they not be? In America at least, they are very brave people who drive a big loud red truck and are tasked with rushing into burning buildings and other locations to not only save those trapped within the flames, but also tame the flames themselves. They truly are some of society's finest. However, not all firefighting jobs are so quote-unquote front lines based, if you will. This is where the job of the fire lookout comes into play. You see, although forest fires are primarily a bad thing, they are a necessary evil. Natural occurring forest fires eliminate a lot of ground debris, opening the forest floor and its shorter residents to vital sunlight, while also nourishing the soil through the release of chemicals caused by the fire, such as nitrogen, carbon, phosphorus, and sulfur. But if wildfires and forest fires have these great benefits, why do we hear so much negative press around them? Well, that's because the issues arise when the fire can't be contained efficiently. And the longer a fire burns, the bigger it gets, the harder it gets to contain and control. Once humans learned the benefits and necessity of natural occurring forest fires, we made moves to do what we can do to make sure we can control them when they do arise. In the 1910s, fire lookout watchtowers began to be erected across the country, though they didn't really kick it into high gear on building them until the 1930s, thanks to President Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal. Once these towers were erected, the fire lookout position was created. You live up in these towers during the fire season and are tasked with reporting any fire you see to make sure it can be controlled and not get out of hand. The towers are typically very basic. The living space is roughly 200 square feet, windows all around, and you get a bed, a stove, a small fridge, and a device to help pinpoint the location of the fire, known as an Osborne firefinder, as well as an outhouse down on the ground to, do the number ones and the number twos. A very basic lifestyle for a few months, as this is a seasonal job. Although modern technology and satellite imaging has mostly removed the need for fire lookouts, there are still an estimated 300 fire lookout positions still in service today. I actually grew up not far from an abandoned fire tower in northern Michigan. Although it was very derelict and unable to be climbed anymore, it was still cool to see every so often and take in the history and what it represented. Now, given the very remote location, limited access to technology, and temporary employment, many people may view this job as a chance to escape from reality for a bit, a chance to get away from the issues of your life and take some time to reset mentally. This is the premise of Firewatch, a game developed by Campo Santo, published by Panic, and released on different dates for different platforms. The platforms in question are PC, PS5, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. I played on PC through Steam, which is where all this footage was captured from. Firewatch takes place in the woods of Wyoming in 1989. You play as Henry, a native Colorado resident who's been having a rough time of things lately. During the opening of the game, you discover Henry's wife Julia has early onset Alzheimer's. Under all the stress of taking care of a wife who most of the time doesn't even remember who he is, Henry's only escape was a local bar he would frequent. Fortunately though, Henry made the poor choice to drive home one night after the bar and got stuck with a DUI. Once Julia's parents catch wind of this, they decide she needs to move back home to Australia to live with them. Feeling like his life is falling apart and wanting to escape his reality for a bit, Henry decides to take a job as a fire lookout in Wyoming for the summer. He took this job because he wanted a nice, relaxing summer and a mental break from his current situation. However, the summer turns out to be anything but. Two main issues arise during Henry's time as a fire lookout. The first of which is that he becomes the prime suspect for a missing person/murder investigation because on one of his first days on the job, Henry has to intervene with some teenagers' fun. They do not take too kindly to it, and to have a short feud with Henry, just for them to show up missing a few days later. The second and more prevalent issue is the looming threat of Henry and his fellow fire lookout Delilah being spied on, tracked, and recorded without their knowledge. At least at first without their knowledge. Henry and Delilah eventually figure out someone is tracking them and try to get to the bottom of not only who it is, but also why. If I could sum this game up into one word, it would be mystery, because there were plenty of mysteries within this game from my experience. The first mystery was the game itself. Although I heard Firewatch was very good, I knew very little about it prior to playing. I knew it was a highly regarded, and you play as a fire lookout. That was it. So I was just like Henry. I was expecting the job to be a relaxing time and a nice, calm summer. However, just like him, I was very shocked to be part of such a wild series of events, and what I thought was going to be a nice chill play turned out to be a mystery that I unwillingly found myself taking part in. The second mystery is the mystery of other path lines. In the beginning of the game, you learn of Henry's life through a series of text entries on the screen. I found myself instantly engaged with this prologue, as Campo Santo does a great job capturing the emotions Henry was feeling and allowing you to feel the same. This is probably due in part to how they let you choose Henry's actions and words in certain parts, allowing the player to be one with Henry and part of his relationship and marriage. But allowing the player to choose doesn't end once the game gets going. Pretty much any time you talk to Delilah, you are given a handful of responses to choose from. This makes me wonder, if I chose different responses in different voice lines, how would that have impacted the story as a whole or the ending? The last of the mysteries within this game that I experience is the mystery of other people. The job of a fire lookout is a very lonely one. You are isolated in mostly barren woods. This is a job for those who are content with isolation, and by nature that, the amount you interact with other humans are few and far between. Sure, you speak to Delilah a lot through the game, but it is all done over radios. She was my best friend through the playthrough. However, I never even saw what she looked like. Through the whole game, you only ever see 4 other people, 5 if you count dead bodies, but you never even see any other faces. The 2 teens and your stalker are all too far away and are just black silhouettes. The dead body has its head under a pile of rocks, and the only person you actually meet face to face is just a helicopter crew member that has a bunch of gear on, including a visor over his face. Perhaps they were letting your imagination run wild and let the characters look however you want them to. All in all, Firewatch was a very unique experience. Was it what I expected? Not at all. But did I enjoy it? Yeah, I did. But personally, I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. To compare it to another recent video, I enjoyed Jasant much more than Firewatch. They were both small indie titles that took about 4 hours to play through, but Jasant I feel like had a much more compelling story. Although it took place in a fictional world, I found its story much more grounded and reasonable than Firewatch's. But for spending $2, I have very little to complain about with Firewatch. A decent game, yes, but a fire to watch? Not in my opinion. Firewatch was a solid little play, but nothing special if you ask me. If you want to learn more or double check my statements, I have links to every article I gathered info from to right at the beginning of this video in the description. For the next game, I'm tackling Black Mesa, the originally fan-made but officially Valve-recognized Half-Life 1 remaster. I have played Half-Life 2 and the 2 episodes at least 3 or 4 times, but never touched Half-Life 1, so I figured it was time to do that. So a video on that is to come. Also, I do want to mention, I did finish Evil West. Me and my buddy finally got our way through it. It was about a 9-hour play for us. A lot of thoughts on that. That'll be the next video game video I release will be Evil West. So make sure you don't miss that one. But in all, thank you for taking the time to watch this video and hear my thoughts. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, tell YouTube that and hit the thumbs up button, as that goes a long way. Also, don't forget to subscribe, as this is the channel to watch for video game and food videos. And don't forget to hit the bell and turn on post notifications so you don't miss any mentioned or unmentioned future videos. Lastly, let's talk in the comments about Firewatch, other indie games, or just video games in general. I'd love to hear from you and discuss Firewatch or any other game you want to talk about. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.